I've been in the fitness industry for more than 6 years and was a former training director of the most reputable gym chain in North America, where I was ranked number one all across US and Canada. I'm going to compress 6 years of brutal fitness truths and lessons into this one video. Starting with number one. 90% of the time, it's not that you hit a plateau and you're stuck. It is just that you need to be a bit more intentional. Inside Dynamics and for all our clients, we never call it a plateau unless their weight hasn't moved for at least 4 to 6 weeks and also they've experienced a decline in energy levels. And even at that point, you don't have to search on Google for an advanced training program. You just have to stick to what's been working for you and focus on the minute details, like being super accurate with your calories, being super intentional with your exercise execution, and with just that, 80% of the time, you will progress like how you did before. Most of the times, it's not that you hit a plateau, you just got complacent after seeing some results and you took the foot off the gas. Simple as that. And that brings me to my next point, and this is something that no one talks about. There is this one strategy that you can implement right now that will help you progress 10 times faster, and the crazy part is, you don't have to make a single change to your training routine. The strategy which I'm talking about is watching the game tape review, also known as taking your form check video. Before I get started, let me get this thought out of your way. You don't need an expensive tripod, or you do not have to ask someone to record the video for you. You can just set your phone up against your water bottle and record a quick 30-second video. Like, think about it. You're already doing all the hard work, watching your calories, eating clean, going to the gym at least 3 to 5 days a week, and if you're still not optimizing your movements, it's like you're just allergic to making progress. And I also get it. You might be intimidated by the guys who look like Hulk, or you're scared that someone is going to judge you. But as a person who had that same feeling in the past, I can promise you that that is just the thoughts that we make up in our own head. Everybody in there are dealing with their own insecurities and are the type of people who just mind their own business. And let me even tell you this. In most cases, they're the sweetest people on the planet and the ones who are most likely to offer help. If you're thinking, I'm not trying to be an athlete or an influencer, I'm just trying to lose weight. If that's the case, let me show you something interesting. All these women you see here are either busy professionals working a regular 9 to 5 or busy moms who just wants to lose weight. And I promise you, they'd be the least interested in becoming an athlete or an influencer, yet they still do it just to get most out of the efforts for what they're putting in. So rather than standing in your own way, and if you want to get the most out of what you put in, record yourself doing the movements and ask yourself, am I making any mistakes? Is there anything I can do to make it better? Or are there any tweaks and adjustments that I can make to make this even more effective? And if you do, I promise you, you'll progress way faster than you think, and it is not that hard as you make it to be. That's it. Let's move to the next one. It's never a mistake. It's always an opportunity to learn. Failing is okay as long as you learn from it. The reason why you don't trust yourself to follow through on your commitments is that because of all your past failures, you've narrated a story that you tell yourself where weight loss isn't for me, regardless of what I try, nothing really works. But that is just because you're looking at it from a wrong lens. If you tried keto and it didn't work, instead of blaming yourself and thinking that you're a failure, ask yourself what went wrong and learn from it, then correct it the next time. If you tried intermittent fasting and it didn't work, ask yourself the same question. What went wrong? Learn from it and correct it the next time. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different results is literally the definition of insanity. Just because you failed in a relationship, that doesn't mean you won't find your dream partner. You learn what went wrong the last time and avoid the red flags the next time. And after all, what's the point of failing if you don't learn from it? With that in mind, let's move on to the next one. Confidence doesn't come from affirmations. It comes from closing integrity gaps. The gap between what you say and what you do. There is not even a single chance that you can transform into the confident, elegant version of yourself when you have a deep self-doubt telling you that you are not the person who you say you are. And that won't change overnight because it's all about what you do when no one is watching. In order for you to be the person who you say you are, break down that one huge goal into a smaller chunk of habits. For example, if it's losing weight, think about what a 10 pounds lighter version of yourself would do on a day-to-day basis, like working out 30 minutes, 3 days a week, taking X amount of steps, drinking X amount of waters, and so on. After that, make micro commitments to yourself that you are going to follow through on those habits. The only thing you need to focus is keeping the promises to yourself. Every single day, ask yourself whether you followed through on your commitments, and sure, you might not every time, and that's okay. We are humans. Don't be too hard on yourself and have some compassion and get back to it as soon as you can. When you do this long enough and have an undeniable proof that you are who you say you are, that's where you get the confidence to commit to the new habits, and that is going to get you to the next level. Never focus on calories burned. There is not even a single tracker out there that's going to provide you the exact amount of calories you burn during an exercise, especially from something that you wear on the wrist. All those are just an estimate of your heart rate and movements, but in reality, there are various factors you need to take into consideration, like your metabolism, active thyroid levels, protein consumption, and the type of movements, and so much more. Instead of focusing on the calories burned, put all your focus into the calories you're consuming and the quality of your exercises. Monitor your weight by the end of every week and adjust your calorie intake according to the weight trend. And that brings me to my next point. Having protein will solve 70% of your weight loss problem. If your primary focus is protein, you are less likely to overeat since protein is so filling, and you're more likely to stay in a deficit because of that same reason. Since protein is one of the foods that has high thermic effect, your body will burn more calories by just digesting the amount of protein you're consuming. Most importantly, it helps you build and retain muscle tissue, which will ultimately help you to maintain your basal metabolic rate and help you burn more calories. Now this leads to my next point. The more time it takes for you to lose weight, the better. Have you ever heard someone say, yeah, I lost 20 pounds or even 10 kgs, but right after I stopped the diet, I regained double the weight back? Now the question I have for you is that, have you ever thought why this happens? Well, look no further. I'm here to give you that answer. Almost every woman I've talked to or had consultations with have tried some kind of quick fix approach, whether it's 90-day cleanse, cutting out sugar and carbs, or even eating less than a 5-year-old toddler in order to lose weight. And I don't blame them. Given that the current situation of the fitness industry, it's no wonder people fall for them. Here's the thing. When you eat less than a 5-year-old baby, yes, you lose weight. But the problem is, the weight you're losing won't be fat. It will be predominantly your muscle tissue. Now, why is that a problem? Because when you lose muscle, you lose the ability to burn calories, and muscle being so calorically expensive, you won't burn as much calories as you used to in the past. And to drive it home, let me give you a real life example. Person A needs to consume 1800 calories in order to maintain her weight and perform daily activity. All of a sudden, person A decides to lose weight, eliminates all her favorite foods, and cuts her calories to 900 in order to lose weight faster. As a result of consuming just 900 calories and starving for so long, person A loses 20 pounds in snap of a finger. But most of that weight loss is muscle, not fat. And as a result, person A's maintenance calories drop from 1800 to around 1400. And since she lost 20 pounds, person A goes back to eating 1800 calories like a regular human being. But now, person A's body only needs 1400 calories, and that extra 400 calories will be stored as fat. As a result, instead of maintaining her new weight, person A gains it all back faster than she lost it. What's worse is that since she regained the weight back so quickly, person A decides to do another crash diet. But now the metabolism drops even further, from 1400 to around 1000 calories. Now, when the person A eats 1800 calories like she used to in the past, her body have an extra 800 calories left over every single day. So that's how the more you crash diet, the faster the weight comes back, and the more you do it, the harder and harder it will be for you to lose weight in the future. Whenever you're trying to lose weight, aim for a calorie deficit of no more than 200 to 300 calories per day, and go in with the mindset of, if you want to do this right and never worry about regaining the weight back, it's going to take way longer than it took you to gain the weight in the first place. Keep in mind, it's not about looking good for just 90 days. It's about looking good in your 90s. This ties into my next point. Stop obsessing over the weight scale. Regardless of how perfect you are with your training and nutrition, your scale will fluctuate no matter what. Certain weeks, you're going to gain weight, and the other weeks, you will lose weight. There is nothing you can do about it, and there are so many factors that you need to take into consideration: your sodium levels, your bowel movements, the amount of carbs you consume, and especially if it's your time of the month. During your menstrual cycle, your progesterone will increase around week 2, and as a result, your body will hold on to more water and the scale will go up. So if you're the person who constantly monitors your weight, consider tracking week 1 and 3, avoiding the week 2. So the earlier in your weight loss phase, if you can detach yourself from the scale and use it just as a tool, the more happier and stress-free you'll be. And I'll give you one more tip. If your goal is to look defined and have more energy, listen to what I'm about to say. Your goal should always be a leaner body at a heavier body weight. First, when you want to lose weight, yes, you need to see the scale coming down. But if you're overly obsessed with the scale, when it's time for you to secure your fat loss results, also known as building muscle after the diet, you will talk yourself out of doing it. If you don't build muscle after fat loss, you won't look defined and quote-unquote toned like you want to. You won't raise your basal metabolic rate, which is how you increase the amount of calories you burn, giving yourself a higher chance to regain the weight which you lost in the first place, or even to end up looking skinny fat. If you're still not convinced, let me show you something interesting. Would you believe me if I told you she's at the same body weight in both of these photos? Well, you should, because here's the proof. When you build muscle, you might be back at the same weight or even more, but with two completely different bodies. This leads me to my next point. Fat loss is a byproduct of the person who you become and how you live your life. There is nothing wrong with wanting to lose 20 pounds for you to look good or to feel better. But if you're not making health as the #1 value you live by for the rest of your life, whatever results you achieve right now, you won't be able to sustain them. Because this is what usually happens. When you first get started, you have that big goal, whether to lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds. But right after you achieve that goal, you don't have nothing to work towards, which will make you feel lost, and the same things that fired you up to make this transformation a reality will be the same things that's holding you back from keeping those results forever. So make the goal not to just get in shape, but stay in shape for the rest of your life, and for that, you need to make health as your #1 value, and most importantly, set new goals along the way while focusing on becoming the person who can maintain those results for the rest of your life. That brings me to my next point. You can't lose fat and build muscle at the same time. It's like filling a leaky bucket. Unless you're an athlete who can live and breathe training and nutrition, the phrase body recomp is not even in the equation, at least for regular people like you and me. That is the exact reason why body transformation should be done in phases. To lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit, and to gain muscle, you need to be in a calorie surplus. If your goal is to look lean and defined and stay that way for the rest of your life, first commit to a fat loss phase and then commit to a muscle building phase. That being said, let's move to the next one thing that 99% of people struggle to internalize. It's not about putting everybody else first, it's about taking care of yourself so you can take care of others. And this might not be what you want to hear, but it's something that you should hear. When you start taking care of your health, certain people won't like it. And to be totally honest, nobody wants to see you doing better than them, because when you do, you're shining light on their inability to do the things that they know they should be doing. That's when they will start to treat you differently and criticize you on how you were before and how you're trying to be different at this moment. And that is exactly where you need to set clear boundaries and communicate that this is where I'm trying to go. You can either be my support system, but never be my distractions. And to be really honest, you might need to be a little selfish, and there is nothing wrong with that. You are either saying no to them or no to your goals. If it's getting worse and you can clearly see that someone is trying to slow you down or prevent you from achieving your goals, that's where you need to do a friend inventory. Take a look at yourself and ask who deserves your time and attention. And if someone sucks your energy and makes you feel bad for taking care of yourself, they don't deserve you or your time. You can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself and don't shrink yourself for other people so they feel comfortable. Now the next one is gonna ruffle some feathers. Cardio is not the sharpest tool for fat loss. Instead of running an hour on the treadmill, if you can focus on your overall activity levels, basically what you do in the rest 23 hours of your day, or how active you are outside the gym, you will get the same results as if you were doing cardio. However, if you do heavy cardio before the workout and it makes you too tired for the strength training, that's where you and I would have a fight. There is absolutely nothing wrong with cardio, but if it limits your ability to strength train, that's where you have a problem. Also, it's not that cardio is bad, but if your goal is fat loss, cardio is not the best tool for the job. Now that brings me to my next point. You can never outtrain a bad diet. Let's say you have the world's best training program and you will still want to lose weight if you're not consuming less calories than you expend. And this is where it gets interesting. Let's say you're eating healthy. You still won't lose weight if you're not consuming less calories than you expend. Let's say you're eating healthy, doing 30 minutes of cardio and strength training more than 3 to 4 times a week. You will still won't lose weight if you're not consuming less calories than you expend. And it gets even better. There is absolutely nothing as you're earning your food. Just because you did a workout, that's not a license for you to have an extra burger. And regardless of your diet, if training was the only thing that you need to succeed, first off, you would never be here watching this video and everybody you see inside the gym would be in a great shape. But unfortunately, that's not the reality. What you do outside the gym is equally important as what you do inside the gym. Which brings me to my next point. It is not about 80% nutrition and 20% training. It is about 100% nutrition and 100% training. Because of the current situation of social media, people think it's 80% nutrition and 20% training and totally neglect the training and put all their focus into nutrition. Same like you can never outtrain a bad diet, it doesn't matter what fuel you put inside your body if your engine isn't functioning properly. The engine is your muscles, and I want to bring your attention towards something. Working out and training are not the same. Running around with 2 dumbbells and calling that a workout isn't the way you train. Going to the gym and doing some reps on a random empty machine is not what we call training. Being intentional with your workouts and actually pushing till failure without sacrificing your form or technique, that is what we call training. Now, let me give you this little framework to ask yourself whether you are training or just working out. If your last reps doesn't scare you, you're not training. You're just working out. But these are the 2 real downsides of focusing on 80% nutrition and only 20% in training. When you're consuming less calories than your body needs in order for you to lose weight, if you're not prioritizing training with intent or training till failure, you're not giving your muscles enough stimulus to retain. In simple terms, you're not giving your muscles a reason to stay. And as a result, all those weight you're losing will be muscle combined with fat. So when you lose muscle, you lose your ability to burn calories, in which you have a higher chance of regaining the weight which you lost in the first place. Let's say you lost the weight and now you want to gain muscle tissue in order for you to secure your fat loss. As you know by now, you need to consume more calories than your body needs in order for you to gain weight. So when you consume extra calories, if you're not training hard enough or giving your muscles enough stimulus to use those extra calories in order for it to recover or to build muscle, your body has no option left but for it to store those extra calories as body fat. To sum it all up, just focusing on nutrition is like shooting yourself on the foot. That being said, let's move to the next one. Dieting gets harder and harder the more fat you lose because you have a higher chance of metabolic adaptation where your body burns fewer calories as a result of you consuming less food for a prolonged period of time. Now, I don't want you to demonize metabolic adaptation. This isn't bad at all. It is just a survival mechanism for you to save the calories in order to keep you alive. But from a fat loss perspective, this is something you need to avoid. In order for you to avoid getting stuck, for every 10% of weight you lose, bring your calories back up, take the time to recover, and get back to calorie deficit. Speaking of that, it's not a weight loss problem. It's a sustainability problem. Most people know how to lose weight because there are countless information online than ever, but the real problem is they don't know how to keep it off. And contrary to popular belief, fat loss is not where the road ends. That's where you just got started. After losing weight, once you got to your dream body or your ideal body fat percentage, the next step is for you to build muscle tissue. If you don't focus on improving your metabolic rate, you will end up in the same vulnerable spot like how you were before, and you would have to put the same effort you did in the weight loss phase in order for you to keep the weight off for the rest of your life. But when you solve that issue by building muscle, and muscle being so calorically expensive, it will help you burn more calories and you can eat a lot more food and still stay in shape without ever being scared of the weight coming back. It's either you build muscle to secure fat loss or you build muscle to replace the ones you're losing every decade. And I know you all will be interested for the next one. A short-term rise in cortisol doesn't make you gain weight, but a prolonged rise in cortisol, that's what makes you gain weight. And no, coffee won't make you fat. Before I jump in, I want you guys to stop demonizing cortisol, at least for once in your life. And to be honest, it's really not that bad. It's one of the essential hormones you need, as it helps you regulate so much important aspects, such as reducing inflammation, regulating your sleep cycle, supporting your metabolism, and so much more. Cortisol is a catabolic hormone, and at certain times, it's meant to increase, but that doesn't mean it is bad. Cortisol increases when you exercise, but does that mean it's bad? Cortisol increases when you wake up in the morning, but does that mean it's bad? No. When your cortisol remains elevated for a prolonged period of time, that's where the problem happens. For example, if you're dealing with constant stress at your day job or your personal life, if you have disrupted sleep cycle, or if you're dealing with anxiety or depression, or if you have a long gap between your meals, and most importantly, if you're skipping breakfast. If you can control most of these factors, cortisol won't be a villain. And send this video to someone who's even scared to drink a cup of coffee, thinking cortisol will make them fat. Now, let's transition into something I never want to stop talking about. If you are the problem, then you're the solution. The worst thing you can do is to blame something or someone else for what's happening in your life, because the moment you blame, you're giving away the power for you to make a change. But when you take ownership of your current situation, guess what? Now you have the power to change, because you realize it has everything to do with you and not with anyone else. Instead of being in the constant cycle of blaming someone else for what's happening in your life, ask yourself this one question. What role did I play in the outcome I have right now, and what can I do different? It is that simple. You can either keep blaming or do something about it. And I know this because I've ran this play before. Now this brings me to the next point which I want to talk about. It's either you do it or you don't, and there is nothing in between. You can't complain for the work which you didn't do, and if you're not happy with what you see in the mirror, not a single person in this earth can do the work for you. People who do the work even when no one is watching gets a dream, and if you don't get into a mindset where you do the things necessary regardless of the circumstance and regardless of how you feel, you would never be able to get the results, and let alone keep the results for the rest of your life. To drive it home, let me give you not one but two analogies. Getting results has a direct correlation on how you show up at your day job. Let me explain. If you don't have motivation, you still go to work, because at the end of the month, if you don't, you won't have money to pay the bills. It's the same with fitness. If you don't feel motivated, you still do the work, because if you don't, you won't get the results. Now, in the workplace, if you do a good job and do the things right, you know that eventually you will get that promotion, and there is nothing you can do to fast track it. You gotta put in the time and have patience. Same with fitness. If you do a good job and do the things right, you will get the results, and there is no shortcuts. You gotta put in the time and have the patience. Now, let's move to the next one, and let this be your absolute mantra. Make it easy for yourself to win every single day. The easier you make it to perform your daily activities, the easier it is for you to achieve your goals, and can eliminate the chance of you falling off track and blaming yourself for consistency. For example, if you're a busy mom or someone who works 10 to 12 hours, don't commit to something that demands you to go to the gym at least 3 to 4 days a week, or even cook 3 to 4 times a day. Yes, you might do it for a week or even a month, but the more you push, the more it will start feeling like your next full-time job, and the more you push, the higher the chance of you hating your life and falling off track. Instead of going for a high commitment plan right off the bat, choose something that you feel you can sustain and something that actually suits your lifestyle. More than that, just make sure you create a space that staying consistent is the last thing you need to worry about. For example, prep your meals or ingredients ahead of time. Choose a gym that's super close to you, so you don't have to waste an hour just traveling back and forth. Set alarms and timers throughout the day in order to remind yourself to stay active. And finally, focus on one day at a time. If you win the day, you win the week. And if you win the week, you win the month. And if you win the month, you win the whole freaking year. And if you want to make it even more easier, you can lose weight by just focusing on overall calories and protein intake. Carbs and fat does not matter, but that doesn't mean it's not important. You need carbs for having energy and fats for cognitive function. Focus on having 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight and fill up the remaining calories with carbs and fats while still staying under your calorie goals. On that note, let's move to the next one. Medications like metformin and inositol alone won't help you lose weight if you have PCOS. It's like putting a band-aid on a bursting pipe. You're not solving the real problem, which is insulin resistance. To address PCOS, you need to reverse insulin resistance. And to reverse insulin resistance, you need to reduce your visceral fat, which is the fat around your organs. And to reduce visceral fat, you need to have a higher basal metabolic rate, which you can achieve by increasing your muscle tissue and by having a plentiful amount of active thyroid hormone. If you can make dietary adjustments to improve your active thyroid hormone, for example, consuming more foods that are rich in iodine, selenium and vitamin D, and also focus on getting stronger and building muscle in the gym, you will see much better returns on your efforts rather than relying the surface level solutions like metformin or inositol. Now, the next one is for those who are too lazy to track calories but still want to lose weight and get into the best shape they've ever been. And if that's you, these are the only 3 things you need to focus. Hold up, I want to make something clear. Calorie tracking is single-handedly the best skill you can learn in order to get accurate and predictable results. But since there is a misconception that calorie tracking is too hard, it's too complex, and it's not easy, and I get where you're coming from, but all I have to say is this. If busy moms with 2+ kids or professionals who's working 12+ hour shifts can transform while eating out at least twice a week or even eating the same foods that they cook for their families, is it really that macro tracking is hard, or the way you've been taught was hard? I think you have the answer right now. So these are the 3 things you need to keep in mind if you're still not convinced. Download a step tracker, or you can take a screenshot and scan this QR code, track your steps, take the average for the week, and slowly increase 200 to 500 steps on top of that. Make 50% of your plate that's something high in protein. Focus on getting at least 25 grams of fiber, and most importantly, focus on getting stronger and building muscle in the gym. You gotta be willing to be bad at something to get good at it later. When you start something new, you will suck. When you learn something new, you will suck. When you go to the gym for the first time, you will suck. And when you track macros for the first time ever, you will suck. But instead of beating yourself up, you just gotta embrace that feeling, because any skill that's worth learning will be stressful at first, and what's making you better is the very thing that makes you feel pain. Whatever you do today will be easier tomorrow, and I promise you that. Let's move on to the next one, and this will spark some light bulb moments. It's not fake it till you make it. It's about acting like the person who you want to become from the day one. Suppose you want to lose weight. Think about what a 10 pounds lighter version of yourself would do on a day-to-day basis, and commit to doing those actions every single day. Or whenever you feel stuck or demotivated, ask yourself this one question. What would the future version of me would do in this situation? And once you find that answer, do everything in your powers to make it a reality. In this way, you'll align your actions with your future self, and when your actions align your goals, then your goals become a reality. Now that we know how to align your actions with your goals, let's talk about one of the common misconceptions that might stop you from making that a reality. You don't have to track calories for the rest of your life. You just do it to gain the skills. When you were in school, you needed a calculator to know what's 2 + 2, but now you don't need that tool anymore. It is the same with calorie tracking. In the early stages, once you practice, you learn the skills and understand the fundamentals of macronutrients and calorie tracking. When you reach a point where you can estimate the amount of calories, proteins, carbs, and fat by just looking at a plate of food, you can then transition to intuitive eating, where you won't have to be addicted to a food scale for the rest of your life, but still keep your hard-earned results, or even progress from what you already have. And as a bonus, if you build muscle after the diet, you have a cutting edge because your body is burning the calories for you. And when you combine that with intuitive eating, on top of your 99 problems, regaining the weight is now one of them. But here's the fun part. You will never get there if you never got started. or if you're still relying on unrealistic methods like intermittent fasting, keto, or even worse, cutting out all your favorite foods.